Now, just sort of moving away from this, I'd like to talk a little bit about Jose, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Last year there was, he came out with No Beginning, No End.
Yep.
And this year he's come out with While You Were Sleeping.
Yeah.
Now, it's quite a big shift.
Yeah.
Between the two records.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether actually he'd chosen the title kind of almost deliberately. It's almost like we expected another No End, No Beginning kind of thing, and all of a sudden it's like, aha, actually, this is now where we're going. It's a kind of much more rockier, almost straight ahead record.
Last year was our busiest year of touring so far, and we also recorded that album in that year, so it was all done in New York, and it meant that every run of shows in the States that we did, we would always go and record afterwards. It was pretty intense,
right? Like
time-wise, because we'd invariably, it'd be the last show and then the next day we'd be in the studio pretty much. But we got it done in terms of like the change in style. It's sort of, to me, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's when you're actually involved and in there, I don't see this sort of shock factor so much of like how different it is. Like, right. I mean, we definitely got into stuff on the sessions that was like some straight up rock stuff that was like, okay, we haven't really sort of found our way in. But I remember recording Bodhisattva one night. We were in there quite late, and just for me, it just sort of, I felt like we just nailed what we're trying to nail there, in that it's songs but with an edge, like dark and moody, you know, which I'm naturally into. Right. And then even that groove has got a little, it's got a little Spaven-esque little touch to it, you know, that snare on it.
And talking of dark, I mean, your drum sounds on it are much darker than certainly on the previous record.
Yeah, I mean, that's firstly working with Brian Bender, the engineer out there, and secondly, like, that's the first record that I've done since I've had my endorsement with Meinl. Right. And that's meant that I've just got a dream, darkest, driest, trashiest cymbal setup, you know, that's just perfect for me. Right. Obviously, you know, you get to just select the whole thing, and working with Bender, that's also like a sound that very much suits him, and like he enjoys working towards that. So sonically, for me, you know, the cymbal sound on there is perfect. It's been intense, you know, the amount of shows that we've done with Jose, like all over the place. And to be honest, it's just a great band to be with. Yeah. I love the way that Jose runs it as that. You know, we're not told. I mean, you could tell we're not kind of told, dictated to what to do. You know, stuff can really just fly off at times, and get out of control in the way that you want it to be out of control. Right. But like Chris Bowers as well, keys, I mean, unbelievable, amazing guy to play with, you know, night in, night out. It's just you know, just being able to be with a band where you're not just playing something that's over-rehearsed and super tight. There's no click track or anything like that. It's a bit of a dream gig with the whole band, to be honest.
Because Jose, I mean, he's very adventurous vocally, but rhythmically vocal with his vocals as well, isn't he? I mean, there's lots of things where it's just sort of almost you and him back and forth, which can go. I mean, they're kind of like little cues that he gives you that you know, okay, this is where we need to change, or you just let it go and see where it takes it.
I mean, you can take risks, you know, when you play with someone for so long. You sort of just feel comfortable. You know, there's times when you sort of communicate a little bit sort of differently, you know, when you're on a festival stage and you can't hear someone so naturally. That's something that really bugs me. I would love to not have that as a problem. But in general, you know, playing in like a smaller club that's that has walls where you can sort of feel each other's sound better,
Right.
then it's just pure musical communication, you know. And we've been playing together for 6 years plus,
Right.
so we don't need to, you know, send a carrier pigeon with what's about to happen. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
it's just going off.
All
Yeah.
right. Actually, because actually on that, I read something that, that you got hooked up with him via Giles Peterson,
That's right. Yeah.
and in fact you played in Cambridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first gig
That's
you did
right.
with him was in, but there was like no rehearsal.
No.
No. So had you listened to any of his music prior to
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
It
right.
was all Dreamer album
Oh,
then.
okay,
It was 2008.
Okay.
So yeah, I listened to the music and I thought, yeah. And you know, he ran the band the same back then. No charts or anything, and yeah, it went well. I remember just going on to him afterwards because I think I took 2 drum solos that night, and it just was like a surprise, you know, like we're playing music to, you know, a fairly substantial crowd that are like really enjoying it. I remember them making a bit of noise and being enthusiastic, and it just felt great, a great mix, because I think I was possibly getting into a way of thinking where at that time where playing jazz would be to people who were sitting down and being a bit more orderly, you know.
Stroking their beards. And
Yeah, you know.
making notes.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Jazz Refreshed club nights have blown that one out the water.
Now, I mean, other records, as I said, you've been hugely busy with Jose. You've been busy getting Whole Other completed and finished. You also released, well, you didn't release, but the Ruth Khalifa record came out.
Yeah.
Agnes Goslin record came out. Again, that's kind of more like the Dutch connection again, isn't it?
Yeah, they with Whole Other and those 2 records, they were all 3 of those made in the same studio. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That seems to have been a fantastic sort of collusion of people. You seem to have found a real home there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been over there a lot over the years, and it's just become like my go-to studio. That's been what's sort of taken me there in the first place.
Right.
Obviously, I've ended up meeting people, playing with people over there. I've got a lot of connections there these days. But it's just, I mean, to have an SSL studio, I mean, if I wanted to hire that place in London, it would be an arm and a leg every time, and I'd have a guy looking at his watch at 6:30. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I'm trying to think about moving one bass drum around in the beat. You know, I just can't have any pressure when I'm working. So it's just been my sort of space to just go and just have proper studio time where I can just immerse myself in whatever it is I'm doing.
Have you got any more plans to work with Agnes or Ruth Khalifa? There anything potentially in the pipeline with them?
Ruth, I don't know. I know she's busy with her stuff. It's funny, I see her album everywhere that I go. Not everywhere, but I mean, we were in Atlanta the other day. There was a bunch in the record shop, poster in the window, people asking me about that record, you know. And in Japan just now. People just are really into that record, you know, which is nice to see.
It's a really nice record. It's a nice collection of songs. So here we are. It's it's just gone the middle of 2014.
Yeah.
What's the plans with this now? Are you going to try and put something together and take this out, or?
I will do at some point. Yeah.
Right.
It's just not. It's not the priority, but it's like this. Getting this album out, just out into the world, has been a priority. In terms of like, definitely having to sort of gig, promote it, in that way is not necessarily the way that I work. Like, I do my own thing. I just love to get the music out there. Gigs will happen when they happen, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not desperate to sort of take it on the road and throw money at it in that way. You know?
No.
Because it's doing its thing out there. But I'm actually looking forward to playing it live. Just some of these tracks. You know, it'd be good to get back into it again.
Right, and so Stuart would obviously be one of the the guys that would. I mean, have you got any other people in mind at all at this point, or is this still just sort of down the road?
Definitely Stuart, Rob Malarkey, bass player. That
Mm-hmm.
he's on here, but me and him have played together just a lot. He's on Agnes's record. You know, me and him complement each other really well, musically, not personally. It's just all insults for some reason. But and then, like, vocally, I'm not quite sure what I would do. The Hicks are doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I had the choice, I would just take them everywhere with me.
Right.
I love what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I would also work with them in the studio a lot more. They're working on their own stuff,
Right.
incidentally.
Have you had a hand in any of that at all? Or?
I've just done them a remix, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, where I'm sort of getting into, like, it's quite sort of electronica based, but I basically I rearranged the tune to a certain extent, but then went in and just did a live drum take over it as well.
Oh, right.
And then sort of produced that up a bit. So that should be coming out soon. So
Right.
that's been an interesting thing.
What else is coming up that we can expect to be seeing at some point, you know, in
Well,
the future?
Seeing as this, like, you know, we're talking drum stuff, there's a record coming up. It's called the Drum EP, and it's 4 drummers who all play drums and produce a bit. So there's a track from myself, Tom Skinner, who
Excellent.
I'm sure I shouldn't need to tell anyone who he
Yeah,
is, because
yeah.
he's also got his own record out, which is amazing. Perrin from Australian band Hiatus Coyote, and a cat from London called Imantiv.
Right.
So it's like a track each and then all thrown together. Like, I've heard everyone's tracks now. It's been mastered. I'm not sure when it's coming out, sometime this year,
Right, right.
on Equinox Records.
So is it like 4 separate tracks, or are the 4 of you working together, or?
Very much separate.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
like
right.
brought together by the fact that we're all drummers doing
yeah.
our thing. So
Right.
it's, you know, that's the only common thread. It's not some of the music. Mine's probably the most sort of acoustic on there. Everything else is quite sort of more electronica.
Oh,
it's like one of those when you fold the paper and someone draws their head on it, and then you open it and it's just a hideous monster. Yeah.
Oh, I doubt that. No.
I'll tell you what, I would be interested in getting us all together and trying to do that live at some point. That would be interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
The position as a drummer is, I mean, we have a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, chances are on a gig that you do, you'll be the one who plays all of the time, and you are a kind of, you know, we always called it engine room and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just a great position of responsibility to be in, and I could totally see how that, you know, lends itself to wanting to write and produce, no doubt.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's almost like being the wicket keeper or the goalkeeper, you know.
I like the wicket keeper analogy a lot better, yeah.
Than the goalkeeper one.
Or maybe the captain, I
The
think.
captain.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yamaha released a very nice little video of you, which in fact, again, you used one of the tracks from the record.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Now, how did that come about? Did they say, look, we want to do something with you? Can you bring a track or whatever? I mean, because they flew you out to Germany to do that, I understand? Or?
Yeah, it was to launch the hybrid Absolute Maple kit,
Right.
which I was more than honoured and flattered to be asked to do.
Right.
It was me and Derek McKenzie went out to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was actually just quite out the blue. Like, I'd already been working with Yamaha for 6 months since that all came about at North Sea, which is another interesting tale of drummers on the same stage. Four drummers again. I'll tell you about that later.
Right.
But yeah, they just wanted to make basically a nice film to launch the new hybrid drums. So I went out there. The kit that I was playing, there was not even any badges on it yet. It was just completely like prototype from straight from China.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So yeah, enjoyed that a lot.
But it was nice that but they asked you to bring a track, and that was, you decided you thought
Well, it was kind of, you know, it was up to us what we wanted to do.
Oh, I see.
A bit of
Right.
playing, a bit of razzing, and
Yeah.
you know, I just thought it might be nice, and
Yeah.
so did they. So seemed to go down all right.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, you mentioned North Sea Jazz Festival. Is
Yeah.
this something we can talk about on camera, or?
Oh, it was just that was I just had a great day, quite interesting in that it was on the stage. I was playing there with Jose James, I think third. So the first band that was on was it was Chris Dave's drum heads. So you can see where this is going. So you know, no pressure there. Of course,
No.
it's all good. The second band was the new collective with Ben Williams on bass, but Jemiah Williams was playing drums.
Jamiria Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, he was amazing. Then we went on. I just had a really great gig that day. It was just the stars were aligned, you know.
Right, yeah.
And then straight after us was I think it was Glasper with Mark Collenberg. So it's like all Yamaha cats,
Yeah,
apart from Chris Dave, I think.
Joe, that must have been.
Well, yeah, quite intense.
Fantastic.
Quite
Well, I mean,
intense. Mildly intimidating in my
Yeah.
position.
Yeah, well, I think everybody brings their own thing to it. And
I think they do, yeah. But sometimes you need to like dig a little deeper to remind yourself that that's what you do. You know, you know what I mean? When you're in company like that, it's like,
yeah.
let me just reassess and remind myself of those things.
Have you any more plans to do anything with Grant at all?
I've just seen him. Yes, unconfirmed, but I mean, the next thing he'll be playing on my stuff live.
Right.
What else have we got to do? I mean, we'd like to follow up the Shoreco project.
Yeah.
Just to, you know, I feel like me and him, we need to play together more. It was just fun and easy to make that record,
right.
you know,
Yeah,
and to have something that like this is, like doing my own stuff is where I get really caught up in it, and you know,
Sure,
feel
yeah,
very
yeah.
responsible to it. When working with Grant, it can be a bit more of a throwdown. I think you sort of hear that in the record. It's a little bit looser, in a good way.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, maybe you should try and row him into this and get Robin Malarkey on bass and you know, maybe a couple of, well, definitely Stuart. And I mean, there you go.
Well, that's
you're
the
set.
band. Yeah, that is the band.
There you
Yeah.
go. I love the fact that you did a thing on your Facebook page, which was like a map of the world and all the places that you'd played, like in the last sort of 12 months.
Yeah, I did.
Which, I mean, how do you cope with all of that? Is that something that?
What, travelling or?
Yeah, and sort of kit du jour every day, and you know. the whole, well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I hate sound checks. They feel like the bane of touring to me. If you didn't have sound checks, mean lobby calls at 2:00 in the afternoon. You know, right when you need a bit of sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that hammers me, and just sort of being, it would be nice to sort of be on that level where you don't play so quite as often. Although saying that, it's actually great to be playing all the time when you're on tour and not just kicking about. But obviously just flying every day and then just checking into, there's been times we've just done that for 3 weeks solid.
Yeah.
And that's just the main thing, is just carrying yourself when you're totally knackered.
Yeah.
And still trying to sort of warm up and feel good when you get on the drums, you know, when you've been asleep on an aeroplane, your neck's all twisted, yeah, you know, and you feel awful.
Been lost.
Well, yeah, we've had that exactly. Yeah, all of that stuff going
I've been
on.
wearing the same things for 3 days, you know,
Right.
waiting for the bags to catch back up with you. And
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not an easy.
It's not. No, I mean, I guess, you know, we just love it basically, and that's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, what an amazing way to live.
Sure. Well, Richard, I appreciate your time very, very much indeed. People, please do go out and investigate Richard Spaven, a whole other record. It is fantastic. It will open your mind up to a whole load of new things, I hope. Plus, check out Jose James' record, Ruth Khalifa, Agnes Gosling. Hopefully the Stuart McCullum record will be out before the end of the year, and the drum
EP.
The drum EP,
Yep.
lots going on. And if Richard is anywhere near your territory, then please do go and see him. I think you will be massively impressed and, more importantly, inspired. So, Mr. Spaven, sir, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, people, do go and see him.